Let's look at making a new spreadsheet now. And we'll work in Google Docs, but you can work in Excel. The nice thing about Google Docs is it's easy to share, it's free. Couple of other things about the way you can save it, but really it's not all that important. You may find some differences in the way things are described. So anyway, let me first show you. I'm gonna make this back up. On the browser, I shrank this down in the last clip so that I could fit everything on. I'm going to turn this back to 100%, so that'll make the visuals a little bit clearer here. And let's go ahead and look how we would find this. So I'm going to go Docs, and I'm going to go to googledocs.com. And now what's going to happen for me is I'm going to see here things that I've already created in Docs. So you actually need to have some kind of a Google account in order to establish access to this. This is free. This is how we do all of the slideshows that are in class and all kinds of other uses. So anyway, once we're in docs.google and signed into an account, we can go over here to the spreadsheet or to the menu and select a new sheet. And we'll just pick up a blank sheet. And we can go up here and right away give it a name. So I'll call it M2 Energy Analysis. And I'll go back to the other spreadsheet now, and I'll just copy over the first thing we're going to do, and that's the project parameters. So I'm going to go through, just so we can use this, I'm going to grab all of that, go Control C, go over here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it. And the only thing that changed was the sizes of the columns and some of the formatting issues, which we'll go through kind of as we work through this. So anyway, this is a 3-column wide little area, and I use color coding to help define areas that we're working in. So I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. So the way we make let's say the overall box, we want to make that color. So I'm going to select all of those, and we're going to go to color, and we'll go to that light green, and now we have that color box. Now I have to see if we have, oops, I needed 3 more boxes down here, not critical. And then we have that title block up here. And one of the things we want to do is join all of those cells together. So we'll use the Merge Cells tool. And we want that to be darker, so I'll turn it to the dark green. That's awful bright, isn't it? Let's see if we got something else going on here. Let's go down this way. And it's a little darker than the one I did. And then we'll add a title. We'll double click into it. We'll go Project. Project Parameters. And we want it to align nicely, so we'll use the Alignment tool here and Align Center. And then we'll give it some other titles. So, and I won't fill this whole sheet out, but I'll go through everything. And so those are just titles. We'll give our first component of our building. We'll go Rigid Insulation. So most of these are not calculated values. So in this case, this is something that I took off of the chart that I have attached, and you should attach one also. So this is going to be, I think it was 7.2, and that was a certain thickness of rigid insulation that was put on the wall. We have a plywood that we have that has an R value to it. That seems a little high, but an R19 insulation and a drywall at 0.45. So I really want you to go through and add all of these in, but I don't want this video to run so long. So let's do the idea of how we sum up these. So we'll do total R. And over in this thing, what we're going to do is we're going to select this, and we're going to hit equal in order to do a sum, equal sum, parentheses, and then I'm going to go up and scan down, and now I get, and then close that off with another parentheses and hit return. And you'll notice we get the same value that we had here. Now the way we add up our values, we need to total our value before we calculate the U value. So now let's do total U value. And that's another calculation. So I'm going to go equal, and then I'm going to take 1, because it's a reciprocal, and divide it by this number, and then hit return. So now we get this other value here. Now this is really sloppy looking because there's so many decimal points past that it's really very visually confusing to look at. So we can go up here, select that, and we can take the level of decimal showing, and it will continue as we round down or round to less decimal places. It's rounding that number up. So we can take that to its logical conclusion there. So 32, that seems like a good number to work with for the U value. Now our two next ones are window values, and they are just numbers. So if you look, I've selected on that, and if we look up here, they're just solid numbers. There's no calculations going on. And the roof calculation is done exactly the same way as the wall one. We take our materials that we want to use, we sum them, and then we do the reciprocal of it. The next number's down, and I'll just slide the screen up a little bit. The total R value is a sum of all the individual R values. So in this case it's, oops, I'm sorry. I've already redescribed this again. Sum of the values, total R value, reciprocal, same as the way we did with the wall. What I really wanted to get to is this idea of air tightness. This is just a number that's put in. That means that there's 0.49 air changes per hour. That's a relatively modern construction standard. Our design temperature is, let's see how I did this. I took it minus G34. This should have a 0 in it. That's what our outside air temperature is, and that gives us our 65. If we had a design temperature for the outside air that it never got, let's say we were in a warmer climate, and it never got any lower than, let's say, 40 degrees, then this number G34, 65 minus G34, I don't know why that's not recalculating, is equal to 65 minus G34. Oh, I want it to be G31. So now so if I put 0 in here, we have, and then redo that, it'll go back up to 65. So our design temperature is the coldest day. Our delta air temperature is 65 degrees. Our heating degree days is not filled in here because that's referenced from another chart that we will bring in. We have our wall, window area, building volume, and roof area. You can come back and fill these in again after you've built in the BIM modeler the actual building itself. But in just to describe what's going on here, we have a 20-foot by 20-foot building, so that's a total perimeter of 80 feet, 10-foot high walls, that's why we get 800. The window area we start with is we just make it 96, and that's a 8-foot by 12-foot window. And then the building volume is calculated by that 400 square feet, which is also the roof area, times the floor to ceiling height, which is 10 foot, so we get 4,000 cubic feet. So you can go ahead and place all of those numbers in to populate your first element on your spreadsheet.